and welcome to episode 52 of the InGeneral podcast. My name's Jack, and I'm doing with Chris. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great today. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing very good. Today's been a busy day for news. Last night, I guess, was a busy day for news. Jeff Goldblum confirmed for Jurassic World 2.
It has been a long time in the coming. Everyone has been speculating about this. We have our own stuff that we've been talking about, and it's been a long time in the coming, man. This was I don't know. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty obvious, hasn't it? There's been so many... Universal themselves have tweeted pictures of Jeff Goldblum. They said happy birthday on the Jurassic World Twitter to Jeff Goldblum, but not Sam Neill. It was very obvious. They were hinting at something. Bayona's talked about it for a long time. There was a news article where he purely talked about how great Jeff Goldblum's character was, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, yeah, he's like, oh yeah, Ian Malcolm in the book, in the first movie, he's a great character. And it was just like one of those things that you're like, yeah, I agree. Why do you bring that? Why do you bring that up?
Exactly, and I think Colin Trevorrow as well has said many times about Ian Malcolm and Jeff Goldblum, and even Sam Neill. He was asked about where is Alan Grant, and he said probably dead. So I think it really it all hints towards Jeff Goldblum. We've all been thinking it, we've all been hoping it, and it's the most logical character to return now.
Well, yeah, his book was in Jurassic World. I mean, you had to look to see it, but I mean, Zorro was reading his book, Lowry had the book, God Creates Dinosaurs, so they out of all their connections to the first Jurassic Park, they have the old park. I'm talking like visual connections. They have the old park, they have Hammond's statue and mentions of Hammond's, and they have Jeff Goldblum. So obviously the park is a given because the park existed. It's the biggest thing. So Hammond's going to be part of that as well. So those are kind of like a given. So when you've got Jeff Goldblum, though, that he's there, you see like little images of him, you just can't help but think like, are they going to bring that guy back?
Yeah, and it does make me wonder. I do wonder if they genuinely knew from the very get-go, from the start of Jurassic World, that they were going to bring him back in the second one. Because Colin always talked about them having the plan for the trilogy. I do wonder if it was always the plan, or if they kind of were writing Jurassic 2 and thought, you know what? This calls for Goldblum.
Yeah, that is one of those things. I guess we will never know unless Colin outright says in an interview, like, yeah, as we were writing Jurassic 2, we figured he was the right character for it, or if it's going to be something like, yeah, we always wanted to introduce him in the second film after we reintroduce him and introduce new characters in Jurassic World. Like, I don't know if we'll ever know, but I am really curious.
I think we can tell people we've had the article ready for a couple of months now, just in case it did happen. I mean, if you go through our back end, there's so many articles ready. Just in case
I like the new one that you
get it out on the fly.
I like the one that you wwrote today. Jurassic World 2 is called Ancient Futures or whatever. Like I just saw that in the drafts.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
gotta
Jack
get that
is
one
ready.
Because I figure if they're announcing Goldblum, we got to get the title may come the next day.
Yeah,
and I think it's funny as well. So they announced Goldblum last night. I was asleep. Everybody else saw it. I joined the party late. Classic.
Was eating. I just finished cooking, and I was eating, so I wasn't paying attention to my phone. There's the Twitter alerts going off and text messages, whatever. I was eating. I was hungry. I just cooked, and my phone starts ringing, and it's Ryan. I'm like, hello? He's like, Chris, Goldblum announced. Get an article now. And I'm like, wait, what? He's like, I know you have an article.
Ryan, this is a PSA, buddy. You got to get some articles out, man. You got to take the stand there. You got to write an article.
Well,
Chris was eating, dude. Chris was eating.
The article ready to go. He's like, I know that you already have an article pre-drafted. He's like, get it up, Goldblum. Yeah. I'm like, and we're just like, oh my
Published.
God. Oh my God. And like, so as I was talking to him on the phone, just like, I was kind of calmly talking to him on the phone because I had to go find my article and find the image and everything like that just to make sure it was all good and ready to go. But I'm just sitting there talking like, wow, this is really crazy. I can't believe it's finally happening.
Yeah, it's like filling in those minor details. And I think we've talked about this before when we have to write something in it. Like you said, you kind of go in auto drive and you just write it and you get it up and you publish it. And then 5 minutes later, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Goldblum's confirmed. Then we can be excited about it. I woke up to about 1,000 notifications.
Oh, I imagine.
Tweets, messages,
Facebook.
Snapchats from Ryan. Just like, Snapchat from Ryan. He was like, dude, wake up. Like, Goldblum is confirmed. But
were you a bit confused when you woke up? Were you like, did it take you a second to process it?
Usually I wake up to multiple notifications, but there was a suspicious number of them this morning. And I then I saw, I think there was 3 Twitter notifications from Frank Marshall, and one said Jeff Goldblum returns, and I did a double take and was like, is that for real? And then I was like, great, I slept through that one, but cool. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I completely missed all of those like Twitter tweets and everything like that. Thank God Ryan called me, because I probably wouldn't have paid attention to it for like a good 20-30 minutes later at least. I was enjoying it. Yeah. I put something on Netflix. I'm like, dinner Netflix, ignore my phone for a bit.
Yeah, trying to calm down and trying to relax, and then just getting bombarded. But it's such exciting news, and like I said, I really gutted that I missed it. That I missed the instant announcement. But waking up to it, I pretty much spent the whole day thinking about his role and what he's going to be doing, and how they're going to bring him back. And I think it's so exciting. And then obviously later, today, James Cromwell comes out and starts talking about the plot. He kind of gives us, he teases he teases his character.
So, you know what, that's one of those things that, how you said you go into autopilot mode. When it was Brian Beluca who shared it, he tagged me on Facebook about the story. He was like, dude, big news! And tagged me on it. And hold on. And I immediately went into autopilot mode on it. So I went to I watched a video clip, I found it on YouTube, and then immediately started writing it. And after I wrote it and I got it up on and shared it, I was just like, wait, what? Like, wait, he's who now? His character did what? Like, I'm freaking out, man. And this is really big news.
Yeah, it's big, and I love the beard. I mean, I just watched the clip. I just got home, so I just watched the clip. I love that beard. I think even Larry King asked him about the beard.
Yeah, and he's like, "Yep, that's why I have the beard."
That's the beard.
If you haven't seen the news article, I guess because we haven't said what the news is. If you haven't seen the news article and you're listening to us talk right now, he said,
"I play the character Richard Attenborough played. I'm his partner." Benjamin Lockwood, and we developed the technology of being able to clone the genes, and so I'm trying to deal with the blowback from what we have done.
Is that why you have the beard?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty exciting, isn't it?
That's so cool. I think it's just we talked about this on many podcasts before about how we really don't know anything about the movie. Obviously, they've hinted at things, but there's no official synopsis, which I think it's great. It really is great. I think we're all just a bit desperate for something. But now, we didn't even know character names.
Yeah.
But now, I think ever since the Goldblum announcement, James Cromwell's like, do you know what? I can say whatever the hell I want.
Yeah, I don't really know.
So he's...
You know what's funny? I was looking at the timestamps of those videos, and they might have been up all day yesterday as well, and people just didn't pay attention to them because I guess nobody thought that you'd get Jurassic World 2 news out of Larry King, and it wasn't pinging on Google yesterday. It didn't start pinging until today. So yeah, it's just like one of those things. It's like a lot of times that probably, think of how many things that are probably said that just go completely unseen if they are said to like really random press sites or something like that, and nobody just notices to like no Jurassic fans really watch it. So it's just like that just completely went past everyone's attention.
Yeah, it's like yesterday I was had the one show on in the background, and Chris Pratt was on there, and he I don't know if you saw it, I live streamed it from the
Instagram, yeah.
But he was just talking about Jurassic World 2, but he couldn't say anything. Obviously, he was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll break my NDA, yeah," making a joke about it. But it's so good that James Cromwell shared this. So he plays Benjamin Lockwood, who is the brother. Oh, sorry, brother, no. Partner to John Hammond.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, really. It kind of expands the mythology behind the franchise. Right?
Exactly. I was actually I think Stephen Ray Morris used the exact words when I was talking to him a bit this morning about it. And I think his exact words was like, "Wow, they're really expanding the mythology in this film." Laying the ground. He said they're laying the groundwork for the mythology to tie everything together. And and that really sums it up perfectly, doesn't it? It's really bringing the mythology of the Jurassic universe together. There's a lot of just, I guess, story. You're immediately like, wait, John Hammond had a partner, like someone that was equal to him with InGen, with creating dinosaurs, but we never saw this guy. We never heard of him. I'm not calling bogus on that. Might be a very private individual, and I'm assuming that there is a good story reason why we never heard of him. My guess is things eventually went sour. Or he dealt with other things. But nonetheless, this guy never really brought himself into the spotlight until this movie. And the John Hammond in the book, he's a different character. He's kind of bitter. He's kind of selfish. I wonder.
He's not caring like the John Hammond that was portrayed in the movies. That's for sure.
Yeah, John Hammond in the movies is a good guy who's deeply flawed, but in the book he's not really shown in a great light. And part of me wonders if Benjamin Lockwood, in a way, is going to be book John Hammond personality, but with a maybe there'll still be some redeeming factor to him in a way, but I'm thinking his motives aren't going to be as sincere. And that's just pure speculation. But like when you look at the set photo, the first set photo they released inside of Lockwood Estate with the girl looking up at the mysterious Fakosaurus Triceratops skull.
Fakosaurus.
there's something almost a little more sinister about that skull, isn't it?
It's ominous, that image. The dark lighting and the moody lighting does set a tone. Obviously, it did look like Hammond's mansion, but we know Hammond's a lovely guy. But yeah, this is Benjamin Lockwood's estate, and we know that he's a private guy based on the set pictures, and everybody's been taking pictures with the big surrounding foreboding gates and wall that surrounds the perimeter of his property. Like you said, he is a private man. He's a very private individual. That's why we haven't heard of him so far in the franchise. But obviously, I do hope they kind of explain that.
Yeah. I hope that
in a good way.
I hope it's not brushed over. I'm not saying it's necessarily something that contradicts things, but now that he's introduced into the story, we definitely are going to need to understand where he's been to a certain degree. Why did Simon Masrani never mention him? Why did Claire never mention him? Why did Dr. Wu never mention him? Why did Hammond never mention him? Things like that. Because in Jurassic World, there were definitely times in the conversation where you would think that maybe this Lockwood guy would have been brought up. But he seems like he must be a very private individual.
And as well, like you said, if things kind of went sour between the two of them, then maybe... Well, you don't know what Lockwood was doing during The Lost World, and maybe that's something we're going to find out in the era of The Lost World, towards Hammond's unfortunate passing, which I believe now has been determined to be 97, pretty much just after The Lost World.
Just after The Lost World he passed. Yeah, exactly. Why did Masrani gain InGen, and why did Lockwood... did Lockwood pass on it?
What's he been doing?
What has he been doing?
That's what I'm
What did he do
about.
and what has he been doing? This is probably one of the more interesting characters they've actually ever introduced in the movie since the first movie. I think.
Well, when they announced the casting for James Cromwell, we all said he's going to play someone great. That's going to be a good role because he's a really, really fantastic actor. And
it's funny, we even brought up I think in the past podcast I brought up how I thought maybe he would play a dark reflection of John Hammond. And I swear to God, that's not based off of any inside information or anything like that. It was just me taking a look at that mansion saying, I bet you that guy might be the owner of that mansion. And that is the vibe I got from it. And now hearing that he's Hammond's partner, he's kind of equal to Hammond, and now he's dealing with the backlash of Jurassic World and everything. That really cements in my mind that he's going to be sort of a darker reflection of Hammond.
Yeah, I think you're right there, and I think he gave us some stories. So pretty much part of Jurassic World 2 is Benjamin Lockwood trying to deal with the blowback from what they've done, as in creating dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So we know that the repercussions from Jurassic Park and especially Jurassic World are now affecting the people that all the way back in the beginning helped create that.
Exactly.
As well as, I'd imagine, a lot of other people. So, yeah, this is exciting. There was also another article about James Cromwell where he said about the crying, about his character has to care about something, and Bayona went up to him and said, "Why don't you cry?" So clearly something devastating, or
I don't even know if it needs to be devastating, because then James Cromwell goes on to say, I was a little surprised by that, and I asked him, well, why is my character crying? So I almost picture it that Cromwell is giving a monologue, a speech, talking about something that's near and dear to him, and tears start flowing. Maybe he starts reminiscing to Jurassic Park, and the tears start flowing. And his question was like, well, why am I crying exactly? Why is what brings tears to my character's eyes? I don't think it'll be anything as obvious as like losing someone or something like that. I think he's gonna be a very emotional character. We're so used to villainous characters not being emotional in a lot of ways in the Jurassic franchise. And this guy, he might have all the full range of care, emotions, but they might be almost selfishly driven in a way. So you might have this, this grandfatherly Hammond-like persona that surrounds him, but the more you get to know him, the more you realize, no, this dude is out for himself. He, what is that quote? Someone said, I hope that we see him say it. It's from Jurassic Park, where he's like, I don't give a damn about saving humanity, or something like that Hammond said.
Yeah.
And I do wonder if we're going to see something like that from him, where like as he talks about it and as people like basically like, you must understand, empathize, and he just might kind of let like, I don't give a damn about saving humanity. It's about exploration, it's about discovery, it's about putting my stamp on things.
It's the rape of the natural world.
Yeah, exactly. And while Hammond went through mental gymnastics to excuse what he was doing, and his heart was in the right place, this guy might know what he's doing, he just might not give a shit. Like I think that's like kind of...
And I think if he is a dark reflection of Hammond, do you think we'll see him towards the end be ripped apart by compies?
I can only hope that we see him get. Honestly though, if it's not compies, I do hope that they maybe introduce a new species of small dinosaur in this film that can maybe fill like a compy-like role. Because we don't necessarily, because Dieter Stark basically got Hammond's death. He fell down a hill, got injured, got eaten by compies. I feel like we can't have another guy fall down a hill and get eaten by compies.
But we only had compies in The Lost World, and we only had a cameo of the compies in Jurassic 3. So I do hope the compies return. They're one of my favorite dinosaurs. They're like
really cool.
raptors, man.
They're really cool. I love the design they went for them. How they have that sort of like amphibian like skin. And honestly,
definitely, they're lizards, And I think because as well, especially it's very reminiscent of the novels, the opening of Jurassic Park with the little girl on the beach, and obviously that was seen in The Lost World. But I love The Lost World. So. Yeah,
out of all honesty, without going into another Lost World podcast, there's so much that The Lost World introduced that I really do like, and the compies are definitely one of them.
And I do hope they bring him back. But yeah, so let's talk about Jeff Goldblum and how this may link to. So what do you think he's going to do in this film?
Okay, so I'm just going to jump right into a piece of speculation that I saw online. And I looked at it, and I kind of scoffed at it. I'm like, what are they talking about? That's out of nowhere. I didn't scoff at it, just to be clear. I didn't actually scoff at it. I just went like, well, that's out of nowhere. I'm not sure what makes you think that. Someone said, what if, like, someone like Daniela Pinita's character or Justice Smith's character, like, what if they're another child of Goldblum's? And I went like, huh? And then I thought about it. I'm like, well, wait. If another child of Goldblum's grew up hearing stories of Jurassic Park, that's either going to have two effects on you. You're either going to be mortified and stay away from that, or it's going to kind of build this sense of discovery in your heart that you want to go out there and find it. And I can almost see, and the more I thought about it, I'm like, that would be an interesting way to rope his character in. If, like, he's like, wait, you're kidding me? Now, instead of, like, my girlfriend going to the islands with the dinosaurs on them, my child is doing this. My adult child is doing this. I cannot, like, stay away from this and let this happen because I know what happened. So, I don't necessarily think that's the case, but that's not the worst theory out there. Like, if Daniela Pinita was, like, another one of not Goldblum's. Daniela Pinita is one of Goldblum's children. No, if her character
Malcolm
is Malcolm's like daughter or something along those lines, like that,
Well, that's right. He was always looking for the ex Mrs. Malcolm. So, and he said, what does he say
says
about
kids? Hell yes, a bunch of them or something like that.
But yeah, I love kids. I'm always looking for the ex Mrs. Malcolm.
Yeah, so he's got more than one child.
But I think especially in The Lost World, he completely changed character. We've talked about this on another character.
He went into family mode.
Now, his character development from Jurassic Park to Lost World was unique. And then you imagine 20 years on, because it genuinely is to be 20 years on.
Yeah, I mean, and I tweeted, I like The Lost World, and I like his character in The Lost World, but I did tweet, like, I don't want to see his Lost World character again. I want to see an evolution of his Jurassic Park character. Like, for me, even if his, like, family is involved in Jurassic World 2, I want to see his cynical, cocky, science, like, pseudoscience self kind of come out. And
well, I think now, with everything that happened with Jurassic World, that will give him some of that back, because he's like, I told you so, I told you so. You know, it will bring that back to him.
Yeah.
That kind of cocky, arrogant, hilarious kind of side to Jeff Goldblum.
I just
but
hope
he will always be like he was in The Lost World after everything that happened to him. So I think it'll be a kind of hybrid between the two.
I just hope they don't have Jeff Goldblum play Jeff Goldblum in this, because that's been the recent trend for a lot of movies, is, you know, he's played different characters that have a ton of his personality in him, but they're unique. And recently, more recent showings of Jeff Goldblum have just basically been like, hey, go out there, read the line like Jeff Goldblum, because people love you, you're Jeff Goldblum. That's the truth. I love Jeff Goldblum. I still want to see Ian Malcolm on screen and not Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum's a little bit more whimsical. He's a little bit more upbeat. I want to see a little bit more of that, like, kind of weird, cynical Jurassic Park. Like, it's the way that he even says his lines and delivers his performance. It's just a little different than, like, the way his modern performance is on like Independence Day Resurgence. Like, that was he very much played Jeff Goldblum rather than his character from Independence Day, and I don't want to see that.
That was disappointing, because that was his kind of, not you say comeback, but it was like him doing a sequel.
Yeah,
for the first in a very long time. But let's be clear, I've seen a number of comments on this casting, most positive. But let's be clear, this is fan service, but it can be a lot more than that.
His character is important, not nearly as important as, like, Hammond or now Lockwood, but his character is always someone that I could have imagined getting back into the fray of things, because he has that attraction to chaos. He likes to say, I told you so. He likes to be there to tell people they're wrong. He tries to talk them out of it, but when he can't talk them out of it, he just can't help himself from being there along the ride for his own reasons. I mean, it's like almost, you know, it's like part of his personality. He can't help himself. So in this world where Jurassic World becomes this global attraction and then everything collapses upon itself, having Ian Malcolm back into the fray afterwards, for me, that makes sense. It makes a lot more sense than Alan Grant. I mean, Alan Grant, in my opinion, great character. I'd love to see him again. I just don't see him getting involved with the dinosaurs unless the dinosaurs come to him at this point. I think that his character evolution after Jurassic Park 3 just doesn't lend itself to that. And Malcolm's, I mean, look, he went to the docks when in The Lost World, when they brought the T-Rex to the docks. He went there. What was he going to achieve by being there? No, he had to be there to see everything go wrong. He had to be there to see it go down. And that's in his personality. So having Malcolm back, I don't think it's just pure fan service. I mean, I hope the writing is right, but I have a lot of faith that his character can really work in Jurassic World 2.
No, I agree. I really hope they bring Malcolm to light again, and I'm sure they will. But like I said, it is a tad bit of fan service, you know, bringing a character back. But it's everybody wants it, and it can be so perfect. And I'm hoping for the best, that they, like you said, he doesn't just play Jeff Goldblum, he plays Ian Malcolm 20 years on after the disaster that was San Diego and The Lost World. I think it can be great. And producer Frank Marshall said, I'm excited to have him back. The world has changed a lot since Ian Malcolm went to Jurassic Park, and we need his point of view more than ever. He told us about chaos theory. He was right.
Exactly. And I think that Malcolm might be brought in. Maybe things are starting to kind of have a snowball effect, where, you know, everything's kind of after the events of Jurassic World. Maybe, you know, maybe some of the elements of the book might even come to play. Like, you know, there's some dinosaur spotting, like some small dinosaurs spotted on mainland Costa Rica. This is happening, that is happening. And they're probably going to, you know, biological experts, dinosaur experts, things like that for advice. But they're probably going to Malcolm because they're like, well, you did say everything was going to go wrong. I mean, you're a bit of an alarmist, and your theories are basically, your theories are summed up with, you can't control anything and everything's going to go to hell. But I could still see people kind of going to him. It's like, okay, you've been involved with these things twice before. What is your perspective?
What do we do?
Yeah, what is your perspective? And he might go, nothing. You're fucked.
A great impression. No, I think it's so fascinating. I mean, this is the news we've all been waiting for, And I mean, what else? It's just so exciting. It's just so good.
Well, you know what? I think it's rather telling that Colin Trevorrow retweeted this tweet. I think that this might give us a perspective on. Yeah, I think this gives us a perspective on Ian Malcolm's character in Jurassic World 2. And so I don't know her name. You could go to Colin Trevorrow's Twitter page and figure out her name. But she says, Chris Pratt, I have a squad of velociraptors and I am the alpha. Jeff Goldblum, what the fuck? And Colin Trevorrow retweeted that. And I think that gives us a little bit of perspective on what Ian Malcolm's character is. He's not coming in like, yeah, let's go, guys. Let me team up with Claire and Owen, and I'm totally on board with everything they're doing. Like, he might be like, I like you guys, but you're maniacs. And Owen thinking that he has this unique relationship with the Raptors. I mean, and we've seen it. It is unique, but he's probably going to come in and be like, it doesn't work. Yeah, he's going to come in and he's going to be like, that's blinding you to the dangers of these animals. They are animals, but let's be clear, they're the most dangerous invasive species that this earth has ever seen. And that is the truth. I mean, dinosaurs will be the most dangerous invasive species that the earth has ever seen. They're from a different era. They would take over the ecosystem. They would destroy the natural ecosystem. And when invasive species are introduced, it has a chain reaction. It can affect crops. It's not just, it's not like, if you have compies eating rabbits or something like that, that's not where it ends. It goes down the food chain, and it goes right back up, and it will affect humans, and it would cause mass extinctions. It would disrupt the entire flow of things if dinosaurs slowly but surely became integrated into the ecosystem.
No, it really would. And I think, as well, that kind of leads on to, Lockwood Estate, Lockwood Manor, do we think that's on the mainland? Or do we think that's on one of the 5 deaths? Or do we think that's on Sauna? You know what I mean? This is the interesting one now.
So, here's the thing. I was like, a mansion, it can't be on one of the islands, but I feel like it's got to be on one of the islands if there's going to be dinosaurs there, but we don't know there's going to be dinosaurs there. But it looks like we're spending a lot of time in the mansion. So, wouldn't it be on one of the islands? I've been going through all these mental gymnastics and questions in my head. And now knowing that he's been Hammond's partner, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, it can totally be on one of the islands now because he was Hammond's partner. Yeah, for some reason, if this dude wanted to build his manor on one of the islands, it totally can be. I don't know why that would necessarily be the best idea. If it were Sorna, I don't think that it's there. I don't think it's Nublar. But I was thinking, what if it is one of the 5 deaths? We don't know if InGen owned them, but we know that chain of islands that are all close to Sorna were, it was implied that there were dinosaurs on those other islands as well. Because otherwise, why would, everyone call it the 5 deaths? So, yeah, maybe he's got a mansion on one of the 5 deaths. Or maybe it's in the States or somewhere else, who knows? I honestly, what are you thinking?
Yeah, but that's the most interesting thing, and I think we can talk about the set pictures that have been released, or not released, I guess people saw the set. There was InGen-esque vehicles, the big army kind of trucks, dinosaur transport cages that look like, they're very reminiscent of the vehicles that were in The Lost World.
Yes.
And on Sauna.
The only thing it's really missing are InGen logos.
Yeah, but I think Assis pointed out in his article that some of the vehicles, or at least one of them, is was built in the 80s, so it doesn't, it kind of hints that these vehicles are possibly already on the island.
Yeah, exactly.
In InGen's or Masrani's kind of,
It's so easy to make assumptions. Like, we see that, they must be transporting dinosaurs or anything like that. And meanwhile, you might go to a set that there's just, all these vehicles that, park there over the ages with, a layer of, grime over them. And it's like, oh, what do you know? These vehicles aren't being driven around with dinosaurs being transported through them. We're seeing the relics of a different era.
Exactly, yeah. Like when in The Lost World and Jurassic 3, when we go through the communications buildings.
Yes.
And you see all those, dated and whatever vehicles.
I mean, could you...
And you can trace those vehicles now to other projects, other films that Universal made. It's quite interesting. The Internet Movie Car Database, I think it is, genuinely has all those vehicles that are in The Lost World that are just sitting there, and the one Malcolm gets in and the raptor goes at him. You can actually follow that vehicle to all the
Really?
other films that it's been in. Yeah,
I never even knew about
it's
this.
Yeah. They're all like repurposed, reused for other projects. So you could be right about these vehicles. They literally could just be placeholders. They could just be sitting.
I mean, looking at some of those cages on the backs of them, they do look kind of custom made for the idea of dinosaurs. So, I mean,
they certainly do.
Because I mean, if you look up, like, we looked up at some of the vehicles, like what they normally look like, and you're looking at it, you're like, okay, it's not as crazy custom done as like some of the vehicles in the Lost World where they had like armor bars over the windows, but like the dino cages on the back, they're not like standard fare horse cages or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're a little bit more. There's more to them than that, and they all appear to be something made. And some of them particularly, like, they've got the large. I'm like, oh, that one looks like it would fit a Stegosaurus because it's got like the dome, like sort of like the doming up on top of it for the plates. And I have no idea if that's actually what they're putting in there or if anything gets put in there. But the implication that they're dinosaur transport units is pretty clear to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious based on the look of them.
And I love the look of them. I love how it's very industrial and very real. I was almost worried that we'd get like a lot of dinosaur transport units or something that looked sort of like the gyrosphere, which I don't want to see any more dinosaur holograms or anything like that. If we see the gyrosphere again, okay, I'm not particularly interested in seeing it again, but I wouldn't hate it again. What I don't want is a lot of vehicle development in that art style. It works for Jurassic World.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. It worked for a futuristic dinosaur park that was doomed to fail. Now it's been so long, and I think we need to see vehicles that are reminiscent of the original movies and reminiscent of the style of Jurassic Park. Nice and dark, nice and grimy, nice and moody.
Jurassic Park has always been an
that's
adventure.
What we're beginning to see.
An adventure movie. And I think that's the thing, is it's supposed to be something real, something you can touch, something palpable. I think that having something that's like real, is kind of like military looking vehicles and stuff like that. I think that adds an element to it. You know, you have that safari feeling. A gyrosphere doesn't give you a safari feeling, and you can create fictional vehicles that give you a safari feeling, but like things like dinosaur holograms and gyrospheres, they don't give me a safari feeling. I really do want that safari adventure, out in the grime, out in the thick of it type of.
And I think we're going to get that now, because Jurassic World's obviously closed. It's in ruins, however you want to think of it. It's not open again. So we know that it's going to be returning to dinosaurs are now free on the island. So we know we're returning to Nublar. The dinosaurs are out. The dinosaurs are free. They're not in their paddocks. So in a way, they kind of have to go that way. They have to go the armored vehicle. They have to go the weaponry. They have to be protected. So yeah, I think we're going to start to see a very. It genuinely does begin. It's beginning to feel a lot like the Lost World, in style and tone. And I think that's personally what I want. And I think for a sequel to Jurassic, that's kind of how it needs to be. It needs to paint these dinosaurs as terrifying animals that protect themselves, regardless of who you are.
Yeah.
And I think in Jurassic World, a little bit along the way, for me, it kind of lost that with the Velociraptors being trained and appreciating Owen. I think
everything felt synthetic, and not everything. I'm sorry. Some things really felt synthetic, like the gyrosphere sequence. I've talked about it before, where the dinosaurs are like running next to the gyrosphere. Nothing about that felt real to me, and I'm not talking about the visuals. I'm just talking about the way the animals behaved. Even it felt too much like a theme park trying to show off its new attraction. Like, something about it just didn't resonate with me. And I think in this movie, I think we're going to see wild animals where Masrani Global and Jurassic World isn't trying to influence the interaction with humans. You're going to have wild animals finally being wild animals again. And I think that it's going to land closer to my heart of what I associate with the Jurassic franchise.
Mm-hmm. So we saw Frank Marshall shared another set photo.
Yes.
Almost at the halfway point. He shared this a couple of days ago now.
Which makes me eat my...
Frank Marshall, Pat Crowley, the other two producers' chairs, and Bayona's chair in the background, and the big reveal, big dinosaur.
The mystery dinosaur statue.
The mystery dino.
Yeah.
So when I was writing this article, I was assuming that it was a Matriacanthosaurus. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. First time I've ever said that word. A Matriacanthosaurus. I mean, it looks like one.
Sort of.
And a few other people were pointing out it looks like that. And then it kind of also doesn't.
It really doesn't. It just sort of... So it's like when you look at the dinosaur list of Isla Nublar on Jurassic World, you look at all the dinosaurs on that list, the only one that it sort of looked like was a Metriacanthosaurus.
Yeah, so when Nedry is opening the embryo storage containers, you can see that name. It goes past it. We've never seen the dinosaur in the movie
it's in
before.
the park map in Jurassic World as well.
Yeah, so we know that they bred these dinosaurs. Obviously, this location picture that Frank Marshall put up is in the manor. It's in Lockwood Mansion, so we know that this isn't a live dinosaur. This is we're assuming this is a diorama. This is a statue.
Yeah, some people have suggested hunting like a taxidermy animal, which I love the idea of, by the way. But the more I look at it, it just doesn't look like that to me. It looks like it's meant to be a statue, and I think, you know, what's interesting now, knowing who Lockwood is he has these dinosaurs that sort of look off. Like, this one has 4 fingers. Did you notice it has... Ryan pointed it out to me. I only saw the 3 fingers when we were talking about Metriacanthosaurus, but Ryan pointed it out, and that statue has a thumb, like an Indominus Rex.
Yeah, and the claws are very raptor-esque, and the kind of face, the whole head is very... it's more aggressive than you imagine a Metriacanthosaurus
would be. And that previous leak where I completely am eating my words because I assumed it was an animatronic, and now it's very clear another one of these diorama statues. You were right, Ryan and Justin and a lot of other people. Yeah, I really screwed that one up, didn't I?
You're never going to live this one down, Chris.
No, I was really, really, really wrong with that. My God. So, you know, that they looked a little off. Also, we were talking about, like, why doesn't it look like the original Dilophosaurus? It looks sort of like a raptor and everything like that. And I think it's sort of telling about Lockwood's character, isn't it? You know, these dinosaurs all look a little off. They all feel a little off. They all look a little more monstrous. They all look a little fake. A little... I could almost imagine... Again, this is just based out of pure speculation, but I could almost just imagine, like, the script saying, like, a private collection filled with dinosaurs and statues of dinosaurs, but this something about the statues feels off and sinister. You know, like the depiction of the dinosaurs, like they just don't seem quite right. That in my head is what I see right there. Like I see this image of like it's beautiful, but then something kind of feels a little wrong about it. And I think that's what we're looking at. They didn't make them clunky because they still wanted to make it visually appealing to look at in the film, but it feels off to me. Do you know what I mean?
And this is what Jack Horner said about what we believe is the Triceratops statue in that first official set picture. He said Fakeosaurus. First thing he said. And he said it's not a Triceratops. But obviously, if we're going for this, if Lockwood's Manor is filled with kind of almost right dinosaur species looking. I mean, this Metriacanthosaurus has this spine.
I don't think it's
kind of sail going up.
Retrospect,
the back, right?
I don't even think it's a Metriacanthosaurus. I the more I think about it, I'm not really sure if it has a name. It might just be Lockwood Dino, scary looking Dino 1. I mean, if it's a Metriacanthosaurus, then goddamn, we got lucky. Because the more I look at it, like, I don't know, man.
No, I'm with you there. When I was writing the article and then you came online, you were like, I don't think it is. And it was like, yeah, do you know what? It really doesn't. It has the same sort of shape, same body, has the same kind of, what would you call it, I guess, layout, but there's a lot different about it. And obviously we're only seeing it through a reflection, or at least I think it's actually we're seeing that through a panel of glass.
Yeah, through a panel of glass.
I think I think the reflection. Let's talk about the reflection. So we can see a T-Rex head.
Yeah, a T-Rex in the background
below the tail.
I've seen some people
most definitely a T-Rex.
I've seen some people speculate that it might not be a reflection, but it's rather a like a mural in the background of the diorama, and it's just being distorted via the glass. But like, I don't know. I see it as a reflection, to be honest with you.
To me, it's a reflection because it's such an obscure... It can't really... No, it's a reflection for sure, and I think we're seeing it through like an open doorway or something, which leads me to the possibility that it is an animatronic head. But I doubt that purely based on this manner.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know why a T-Rex would be there.
Unless it's literally like a doorway of the set is open, and like you're
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
into like a warehouse or something that's over there. Like, oh yeah, and there's a T-Rex over there. Maybe that's why Frank Marshall chose that photo, because like maybe he was just kind of like, haha, you can see the animatronic, but just barely. Like, you know, it's possible that he
Yeah.
might be like, I'm gonna tweet this photo. This will get people to discuss it.
Because when we thought if this species is a new dinosaur, we thought surely he didn't make a mistake, you know, and didn't even see it.
Yeah.
In the picture, just kind of rushed the pic.
Yeah, exactly.
But no,
like,
this
wait,
is
I only
definitely
meant
on
to tweet a
purpose. This is
picture of my chairs. There's a dinosaur in the back. Oh God, no! Oh, JA's gonna kill me.
Damn it. And then he's like, "Let's announce Goldblum."
Quick, cover.
But I think it's a really great picture. It's really interesting, and I think we can assume that the mansion set is at Pinewood. So
Yes.
you could be right in that this open doorway leads to another set, and that's why we're seeing the T-Rex head. At this point, we don't know, but
kinda
you
looks
can
like
see
the-
many shadows. There's lots of people. There's crew members.
Yeah.
There's potentially actors there. It's a. I like these kind of pictures because the more you look, the more you see.
Yeah, exactly. No, oh my God. You know what I'm really looking forward to the most now? Really now, like I'm really like I've got the after Goldblum. Kind of knew that one was coming. I knew that one was coming. And
How long have we been sitting on that one, Chris?
since August. Yeah. Yeah. It's like the one thing that we knew. But you know what really got me excited now is the Lockwood announcement, like who he is. That has me more excited than actually Goldblum. But it's not like I'm not excited for Goldblum. It's just because that has my story implication going. Like, oh my God, Hammond had a partner. We're gonna meet this partner. We're gonna like. To me, that's bringing this story into a direction that I really am interested in. I just love this dynamic. Like, what is that dynamic going to be with Claire and Owen and Dr. Wu? You know, Malcolm.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? I mean, they've introduced a lot of new characters in this movie, and I mean, you can see in Jurassic World there was not many characters. In Jurassic Park there were not many characters. In the Lost World there were a lot of characters. There were a lot of different parties involved in the story. And I think that's what we're going to see with Jurassic World 2. We don't know what half of the new cast members are doing or playing. We only know what James Cromwell's doing, and I think that's so exciting. And dude, Hammond had a partner.
He had a part. He had a
like what?
So you know what? Something that also talking about these new characters I find interesting is it seems like Daniela Pineda, she's filmed more than Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt.
Certainly seems that way. She's in France at the moment, I think.
Yeah,
according
she
to her Instagram.
finally
By the way,
is
if you're
taking a
not
break.
following Daniela Pineda on Instagram, do it because she's hilarious. And she sometimes, well, actually, she doesn't do it anymore. But she she live stories from set.
Yeah.
She posts some cool pictures. She's really good to follow. But yeah, it seems like she is the lead.
I really.
And when they announced her, they definitely said she's the new lead, or she's a lead character.
A lead character, yeah, exactly. And you know, something that's interesting to me is like I think when it comes to the most important characters in this movie in terms of their story to be told, I think it's going to be Owen and Claire are going to be a big driving force. I think that Wu is going to be a big driving force. I think Malcolm and Lockwood. But I'm almost wondering if we're going to view this story, a lot of this story, through and have an emotional arc, like character growth through Daniela Pineda's character, and maybe Justice Smith, maybe Rafe Spall. Have I figured out how to pronounce that yet? Because I think
Toby Jones, Ted Levine. I think it's Rafe Spall.
Rafe. Okay.
We had a whole. we
we landed on something before. I don't remember what it was.
I was saying Rafe and Rafi, and I think it's Rafe Spall. But it's like Colin Trevorrow. You know, I always said Trevorrow, and then it was like, no, it's Trevorrow. No, I always said Trevorrow, and then everybody said, no, it's Trevorrow. Yeah. And then today, the dude in Star Wars, what's his name? The guy, Luke Skywalker. What's the actor?
Mark Hamill?
Yeah, Mark Hamill did an interview, and he was like, Colin Trevorrow. I was like, oh. Okay, I mean, he's working with him.
I think it's
so
Trevorrow,
maybe...
though, because I'm pretty sure I remember even, like, someone saying, it's Trevorrow, like tomorrow. So unless someone pronounces tomorrow like tomorrow. Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay.
So...
Yeah, no. But anyway, I don't know what led us to that, but Colin Trevorrow.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah, and, so, you know what? Something that there's been a lot of conversation about is a lot of people are assuming that Jeff Goldblum's only going to have a small cameo in Jurassic World 2. First of all, I don't think so, but second of all, if it were just going to be a small cameo, they honestly wouldn't announce it. I'm not saying his role is going to be huge, but if it were just like a quick like interview with him on TV or something like a real quick one-off like that, they would not announce his casting. Like, I think hands down that's one of the more telling things. I'm not saying that he's going to be in like half the movie, but he's not going to be like, Jeff Goldblum sighting, and okay, yep, that was cool. Okay, yeah, that was our little cameo or little.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like a fan service cameo. Is I think what he's going to be.
No, he definitely
character.
has an important role.
And Frank Marshall even basically said that in that his little blurb that you read over earlier. He has an important perspective to tell this story through his character. So
we need his point of view more than ever. So yeah, he definitely has an important role. I think I'm gonna read out some of these quotes from James Cromwell. So just before he revealed his character name, he was talking very positively about the movie. It seems like he's really enjoying working on something so big. But he said, "Money is no object. You take your time and do whatever you need to." The director, Bayona, bless his heart, was trying to fight off all of the executives, and then he said, "I probably shouldn't have said that." So that's an interesting one. I mean, this guy don't care.
He just starts talking. And he goes, "Oh well, I said it now."
Oh well, I said it. But I think that's so interesting. I mean, we know directors fight off executives from studios all the time. It's kind of part of the process of a big Hollywood picture.
Just to be clear, a fight doesn't necessarily mean like a negative fight. It's more of like a debate, on a discussion. Like, hey guys, I really want to shoot in Hawaii with our actors and build sets there, and they're going, look, let's just shoot plates in Hawaii and we can film the sets here. And Bayona could go, no, it's really important that we get out there into the grime. And they go, but look, we could save money. And that's not like really a fight. That's a discussion. That's a creative discussion. And I don't want people to sensationalize that quote too much, because we really don't have the context, and that's a pretty normal part of the filmmaking process. However, it still is an interesting quote.
Yeah, no, definitely. And he had a lot of positive to say about the movie, and we know that we know that they're doing some amazing things. So he said the prop people have made wonderful things, the set people have made wonderful things. There's just so much money and so much power and so much prestige. It's Jurassic Park. It's unreal. And then you do your work, and instead of doing it in a room, you're doing it in a football field-sized set with real recreations of dinosaurs. And then he goes on to say about they were bringing in actual dinosaur replicas from a museum in America, and it's just, they're really going all out for this movie. Jurassic World was a huge success, and now they can really put, I guess you could say they could put all their eggs in one basket with this movie, and it's... Yeah, I mean, Goldblum.
Goldblum. No, yeah,
Goldblum.
it'd be really interesting to see if Malcolm gets a scene with Lockwood, and if he's just going to be like, who are you again? Like, where have you been all these years? Why have you been hiding in the shadows?
Why? When the disaster in San Diego, why didn't you?
Yeah,
step out?
why should we trust you?
Really
you're coming out saying like, oh, you're going to deal with the backlash now. You're going to deal with the blowback. We know that the movie has some sort of like save the dinosaurs plot. Frank Marshall tweeted a picture where it's like, we can save them and save our sores. But assuming that maybe he's even helping run those campaigns to save the dinosaurs, I can almost even see Malcolm be like, and why should I trust you? Like, up to a year and a half ago, I didn't know you existed. And now you suddenly want to be the good guy in the spotlight. What are your motives? For me, it's sending...
It's almost he's being the audience, isn't he? Malcolm will represent the audience view of it. It's like, where has Lockwood been in the franchise?
Yeah.
If he supposedly is Hammond's partner.
Yeah.
I think it's just so fascinating. Like we said at the beginning of this podcast, it's expanding the mythology of the franchise in a very positive way, and this leads on to potential. What's Lockwood been doing?
Yeah.
That's what fascinates
me. What other
me.
projects does he have going? And,
if he was Hammond's partner, he clearly loves dinosaurs as much as Hammond, or loves the thrill of it. What's he been doing?
This really brings me back to that open source quote from, a year and a half ago now or so. Where it's like, what if other people are making dinosaurs? Well, what if Lockwood has, maybe he split with InGen, he split with Hammond for whatever reason, but what if he's been making his own dinosaurs this entire time? What if he has his own dinosaurs? Like, what if we're introduced to this location? It's like, oh, and by the way, I've been able to keep this secret because I kept it very small, but ta-da! And it's like, oh, shit, like...
Yeah.
I just wondering if that's maybe where that open source quote came from. Where did Biosyn, did Dodson know about Lockwood? Did Dodson work for Lockwood? Did Lockwood get locked out of InGen?
This is it. If Hammond and Lockwood split, if Lockwood's a bit of a badass, if he's a bit of a dick, then maybe all this time after Jurassic Park, Dodgson and Biosyn were working with Lockwood, like you said, and all this time there's been something brewing, and now it's about to explode.
Yeah,
now it's about to break.
He might be a good guy, but I don't think, even if he's kind of a good guy, I don't think you can trust him. He might not be a bad guy, but I don't think you can trust him. He hasn't been in the spotlight for so long that there's a story to be told there, and I'm very, very like, if I were in the character's perspectives, I would be very wary of dealing with him, and I get the feeling that he might come off with like a grandfatherly persona just to kind of disarm people and make them trust him, because it's a pretty common persona to have faith in, to trust in, and I think that it's gonna be quite interesting to see how it plays out. I'm just so excited. That's an interesting
point, because the daughter, then let's talk about Lucy. So she could potentially be the grandchild of Lockwood. Because she was in this mansion, and like you said, he gives off this nice grandfather look at a lovely persona. And what if he puts her in danger? That's a bad thing, and we know based on her character description, or at least the audition description, that she has to deal with some very emotional
moments,
some very difficult moments. So that's fascinating.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm saying I think Lucy's the grandchild.
Yeah, I bet you that Lucy is Lockwood's grandchild. That would make sense. Lucy Lockwood. That's a weird name.
Yeah, Lucy Lockwood. I like it though. And then obviously we don't know much about any of the other characters, who they play, but Geraldine Chaplin, we're thinking is either Lockwood's wife or Hammond's widow.
That would also be interesting if Hammond does have a widow, and then she kind of comes in like, oh, no, Lockwood, like, I know what you're about.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. What if she's the sort of middle ground between the characters that have no idea who Lockwood is?
Or maybe she's just a private benefactor. Maybe she is just someone else. Like, she's not necessarily related to Hammond, related to Lockwood.
No, she's married to someone, all right?
No, I mean,
it could be.
She might be, like... She just might be another source of power. I imagine after the events of Jurassic World, a lot of people... There's going to be a lot of power plays going on. A lot of people are going to be scrambling to gain control of that technology for various reasons. Some of the reasons will probably be more sinister than others. And ultimately, we know somebody was running the show, and it wasn't Hoskins for Wu's side project with the hybrids. And, what if that was Lockwood? What if Lockwood had an influence on that? There's so many questions that I have now about all this. The story has just finally, like, opened up to this point where it's like, oh, it's not just a rescue mission. Like, there are things going on. Essentially.
Yeah, and like you said, we still don't know much about it, but I mean, this tides me over. This is great. I mean, I was happy with that set picture and not knowing anything else until the trailer, but this has really got the conversation going. This is the whole Malcolm thing, the whole Lockwood thing.
I just want to see their costumes. Like, I want to see Malcolm and Lockwood's costumes so badly.
Yeah, I want to see what Malcolm looks like after all this time, because we know now he's got grey hair. He's, if you've seen his Chef Goldblum, he's been... opening a food truck in Australia, right? In New South Wales.
Yeah.
So he's not filming at the moment. He may have been filming already. We don't know. Nobody spotted him on set.
They could have easily filmed with him because, out of all honesty, we have, it's not like anyone's like been like, oh, we spotted James Cromwell going to the set, or we spotted Toby Jones going to the set.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't. He could easily have been on set. I imagine that they would be more closed sets with very, very, like, as much of a skeleton crew as possible, just to stop it from leaking out. But Yeah, I imagine they probably filmed stuff with him. That's another thing that I saw a lot of people go. Like, people were freaking out. They're like, "Why are they just casting him now? Oh God, they're rewriting the movie in the middle of making it." No. Casting announcements are strategically placed throughout production. The casting happens before production begins, but they will strategically announce them at certain points. It's just part of, because a casting.
Wait, people didn't really think that.
No, there was a lot of people kind of thinking like, "Oh God, why has he just been cast when the movie's almost halfway done filming?"
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, exactly. This casting happened well before, actually. Like, well before.
Yeah, I mean,
before
I think
everyone else, actually, other than, like, Owen and Claire.
I think he's been in early drafts from the get-go. I think it was always the plan to have him in number 2. And I think it's such a strong move on Colin and whoever's behalf. I think it's a great move to bring Malcolm back. He's the only logical character to really return. Obviously, Ellie Sattler I'd love to see return, but Malcolm is the staple. Malcolm and Alan Grant. And Alan Grant makes no sense to return, as we said earlier.
Again, yeah.
And even Sam Neill believes his character's probably dead. So,
he just knows how to play coy. He basically knows how to get people talking. Kind of play, like, he plays
He
it
may be in
sarcastic.
number 3. Could you imagine that?
That would be really interesting.
I think that would be...
He would have to be a limited cameo. Like, for him to get involved, though... Sam Neill to me feels more like fan service than I mean, I love him, but God,
Sam Seal with the Sam service, it's too much.
No, I mean, it's a bit. You'd have to really have a good reason to get him involved, and I'm not saying that that's not possible, but it certainly doesn't write itself the way that Malcolm does, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Malcolm makes sense to come back, as we said at the very beginning. But yeah, this is it's been a crazy day. It's all I've been talking about today is Malcolm and
Lockwood now. Yeah,
it's so.
I mean, the Lockwood news just broke like 2-3 hours ago tops.
Not long ago at all. Yeah, so we're halfway through filming, and they announced Goldblum. Chris, so I'll just mention this briefly. Chris Pratt's been doing the rounds for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He's been talking about, everybody's asking about Jurassic World 2. He can't say a word. NDA signed. The only thing he said was, Bayona's a remarkable filmmaker. If you haven't seen The Impossible or The Monstacles, he's really visually masterful, deep emotions and suspense. And then he said about Jurassic World 2, I think it's going to be a scarier version, a little bit darker, and will continue to expand and carry the story forward in a way that's really unexpected and you wouldn't have imagined. Now, obviously, like you said, this is just kind of... He's not allowed to say anything, so he's saying the keywords, the buzzwords, but a little bit darker and, scarier. It's something we've heard from the beginning. Yeah. And I do hope they live up to that. I want this movie to be scary.
I mean, at the very least, I want it to take itself more seriously the way Jurassic Park did, as opposed to Jurassic World, where Jurassic World, it had very serious scenes, and then it injected humor, like almost either in the middle of them or right after to like break the tension to kind of make you go, oh, okay, like that was fun. Okay, that was scary there for a second, but okay, I'm laughing now. I can breathe again.
It's all right, children. It's okay.
And Jurassic Park didn't do that, and I just going back to that sort of taking itself a little bit more seriously. You know what? The tone kind of works for Jurassic World. You have this open park. It kind of does fit the tone, but I think that. When you have Colin, like in a lot of quotes, said, "Hey, I'm making this movie for my 5-year-old son." I don't think Bayona is necessarily making this movie for a 5-year-old son. I think he's making a Jurassic Park movie, and so I think that
as far as I'm aware, Bayona doesn't have children as well, so he doesn't really have that kind of agenda going for him. He's making a Jurassic Park movie for a Jurassic Park audience. I think that's so exciting.
Yeah, and I think though, as we know with the original Jurassic Park, making a Jurassic Park movie for a Jurassic Park audience is still it still has a wide appeal for the general audience. Yeah,
I mean, definitely. We spoke about this before. Jurassic Park appeals to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
There's nobody that doesn't like that movie, and if they do, then you got to question who they are as a person. It's like somebody that doesn't like dogs. If somebody doesn't like dogs, you're like,
okay, were you bitten by one when you were young? Because if you're that, I understand.
Yeah, what happened? What led to this?
Otherwise, if you're like, I don't know, they just don't do anything for me. It's like, you're a serial killer, aren't you?
You're right. Yeah. Wild assumptions on the InGeneral podcast, but no, it's true. If somebody's nervous or scared of a dog, I'm like, why? You got to tell me why. But it's the same, if somebody doesn't like Jurassic Park, you're like, but how can you not? I mean, I know we're mega fans, but it appeals to everyone. Spielberg made these movies for everybody. And it's so true in the franchise. It's for children. It's for the elder generation. It's for the middle generation. It's for us.
It's a movie that children can enjoy, but it's not made with the limitations of a movie made for children. You know what I mean? Like there are certain caveats to a movie made for children, and Jurassic Park, The Lost World, they don't adhere to them. And I think that's important to kind of really capture that feeling, that mythos. And I mean, it's a dinosaur movie. Dinosaurs are so fascinating. It should be fun. It should be adventurous, and it should be scary.
Should be scary.
Because
they're massive.
Guess what? Real animals that live today are scary. Rhinos are beautiful. They're amazing. They're dangerous as hell. Hippos, they're goofy looking, and they are absolutely savage. Any animal movie where you have these really these key, I mean, even like deer. I'm more frightened of deer than I am of bears. When I was in Alaska, I was afraid of getting murdered by a moose, even though I was around bear all the time. I think that's a little bit of a sidetrack there, but I think it's important to remember animals can be dangerous. You can't tame them always. You can't control them. You can't quite predict them. They are naturally animals, so they're not murder beasts. But you have to be cautious around them. And when you have a smaller island filled with apex predators from a different era, it should
in their own environment.
It's scary.
Wild
you
animals,
can't predict them. You cannot predict them, and you're in their territory, but they're not even in their territory instinctually, so they're never going to feel 100% comfortable.
Yeah, they have no idea. What's the quote? They have no idea what century they're in, and they'll defend themselves by violently, dangerously. And that rings true throughout the franchise, and it's something that is really going to return here. And like we were saying about children, it's good to be scared. When I was really young, back when I was a child, I used to watch Jurassic Park, and I used to fast forward the Dilophosaurus scene with Ned. I couldn't watch that scene. As soon as he got in the Jeep, I fast forwarded. Up until a certain age, because it used to terrify me, but in a good way. Now I watch that scene, and I love that scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's because it drives that fear, that being scared of almost the unknown, where it's kind of sticking its head out the tree. He can't see it, you can't see it. It's brilliant, and I think that's what I really hope we get back in this movie. Let's not terrify kids so they're screaming out the theater. But
I mean, we don't need gore. We don't need gore. Although if we can get a death that's on par,
it's not about gore.
If we can get a death that's on par to Eddie Carr being ripped in half, that would be pretty cool. But I don't want a rated R movie.
I mean,
though.
it's a brutal death.
I don't want a rated R.
No, but it's a brutal death. But you don't. It's in the dark. It's in the light. There's lightning, so it's a kind of back and forth. You see half of it. You're like, well, they definitely ripped him in two, but you don't see the go. You don't see his
I don't need to see
out.
that. Like there are so many movies. There's so many good movies out there that do that already. That's what I like about Alien. Like if they're an Alien movie without it shocking you with the visuals, I'd be like, huh. But I don't want that for Jurassic Park. I'm not saying I want Jurassic Park to adhere to family movie standards either, but I don't need the gore. I just need it to be scary. In fact, a lot of times gore can take away from the fear. Sometimes the unknown can be scary. Sometimes less is more when it comes to fear.
That's exactly what it's about. And you know what? Joe Johnston made such an amazing point when he was directing Captain America. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but he was blogging while he was directing Captain America, and there was this really fascinating read, and it's rung true. As a filmmaker myself, I was trying to make films, an independent filmmaker. This quote still runs true, and I still say this when we're talking about movies. He was talking about Rosemary's Baby, and obviously it's about a group of people that live next to it's about a young couple that live next to a bunch of Satanists, right? And they take the baby, and it's described that they rip the eyes out and blah blah blah. It's very gruesome. It's a what do you call it, sacrifice. And Joe Johnston always thought, he loved the movie, but he always, when he talked about it, he hadn't seen it in years, he always imagined that you see the baby. And he was having an argument with his wife, and his wife's like, you never see the baby. And he's like, you do. You see the gore in its eyes. You see it. And then he rewatched the movie, and he realized you never see that scene. It's just the reaction. It's the unknown. And that's what it is, the fear of the unknown. It's what you don't see that is what's scary. And that's the same. It rings. All the best filmmakers use this tactic. It's why Spielberg's such a fascinating filmmaker, because in Jurassic Park, when Nedry dies, you don't see it.
Yeah,
you just hear it. It's what you don't see. Your imagination is left to run wild about what's going on in that car. Same with Rosemary's Babies. Your imagination is left to create what happened to the baby.
Or even more so, what happened to the cow in Jurassic Park? You don't see anything. You see the cow go down there and then the bushes start rattling. But what I find that works so well is when you hear the raptor sounds and the camera's panning, and the camera kind of does this thing where you almost imagine the camera is following a jumping velociraptor as it pounces on the cow. Even though you don't see either one of them, the camera does a motion that suggests a raptor tracking along the ground and then pouncing airborne and landing on the back of the cow. You hear that, and you're just like, oh, and like then you just see everyone's reactions, and you 100% feel like you just watched a velociraptor decimate a cow, even though you didn't see a thing other than
shaking bushes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's the fear of the unknown, and I think that's what I really hope we get back in Jurassic World 2. On that note, Chris, just before we wrap up, let's talk about the cast members. So we've got Jeff Goldblum. He joins Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, B.D. Wong, Daniela Pineda, Justice Smith, Toby Jones. It's a long cast list. Rafe Spall, Geraldine Chaplin, Ted Levine, and James Cromwell. And
plus whomever's playing
girl who plays
Lucy,
Lucy,
who we believe is Brooke Norberry.
Brooke Norberry.
That's a huge cast.
So that's a huge cast. That's a Lost World number of cast members, and you can start to separate them, who's playing with who's going to be with who. It's fascinating, and the next few months on Twitter,
I need to see.
It's going to be fascinating.
I need to see costume photos. Like that's kind of like what I want to see now. From now on, is like maybe J.A. Bayona tweeting a picture of like a group photo, like a promo photo of them in costume. Like I really do want to see that now so badly.
Now that they've announced Goldblum, that would be.
Or I would love
really
to see
great.
them all in a room together, just doing like a script read or something like that. Like when they're not in costume from very early on. How cool would it be just to see Jeff Goldblum in the same room as all those other people?
Yeah. So I think out of the cast members that I really want to see, though, you know, what they look like, what they're dressed like, Daniela Pineda and Rafe Spall. I am... Oh, and Ted Levine.
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated to see who they play. Because Ted Levine, I think he's going to be the villain.
I think he's going to be like a Roland. I think he's going to be like a Roland type guy. Like, almost like if you took like Roland.
Oh, like Tembo?
Yeah, like Roland Tembo.
No,
but no, if you took him and mixed him with like Hoskins. That's kind of like what I'm picturing. Like a big game hunter type of dude, but who doesn't necessarily have the moral compass of Roland Tembo.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah, I'm with you there. That's kind of how I picture him. So not necessarily a straight up villain, but just he's out for his own.
Yes,
he doesn't care about anything else, and I think,
dude, I'm pumped for this movie. This is the first time this news has got me. Like the story is finally there at a point where I'm like, yes. Like, okay, yeah, I am 110% in. Okay, it will probably have hybrids, and I'll probably go, but otherwise, I am in.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, Chris. I think it's going to be fascinating. We're going to have so much more to discuss in the next few days. But on that note, it was great speaking with you.
Dude, yeah.
Goldblum, and Cromwell.
Yeah, until next time. And it seems like
there's nothing else more to say. That's how amazing is that news today.
I'm pumped. I genuinely pumped. Hey, how about we get the logo in the name? Or even a logo tease. Even if we don't get the name, how about a logo that says June 22nd, 2018 or whatever, but the new logo. So it doesn't have the name in it, but it's got like the date in it, and we get to see what the new logo sort of looks like. That would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think what would be really interesting if the studio released that kind of one sheet that they do with that logo at the top. The full cast list, you know, Brooke Norberry joins Jeff Goldblum, you know, and then a very, very, very basic synopsis. I don't want to know the story. I want to know.
Well, I think,
the very
to
basic
be honest, I think
one-liner.
we know the basic synopsis. To be honest with you, at this point, I think that
yeah, I know, but I want it in official
I guess
writing.
same. But I mean, let's be real. We do have a good idea of what on the very, very basic level. We have an idea of what's driving the plot on a very basic level, and I don't want to know any more.
Definitely.
Than that. We know a lot now. We kind of went from knowing nothing to knowing like something like, oh wow, we know quite a bit. I want to see.
Well, you can put all these. I think with Cromwell's announcement today, or at least what he spoke about, we can definitely piece together all the tidbits of information that help us piece together the plot.
Yes.
Now, I still want to go into Jurassic World 2 without knowing anything, but it's not when
for you and I. That's impossible.
A site like this.
Both of us can attest to it that we oftentimes are told or see things in advance, and it's just like one of those things. Like, okay, and I just don't want to know character deaths. I don't want to know set pieces, stuff like that. I don't want to know the end game of the movie, you know, because I've already reserved my fact to the self that I reserved myself to the fact that I'm going to know things, I'm going to see things, but I hope it's kept at a certain level where I'm like, okay, that's enough. Please, if you see a character dying or if you see like a big reveal, don't put it online, and please don't tell me.
Yeah, no, I want some nice surprises like this Lockwood surprise. I didn't know anything about this, you know.
Yeah,
we assumed L something manor, Lockwood Manor, mansion,
estate.
manor. We assumed that based on set pictures that have been leaked and blah blah blah. But the fact that he's playing Hammond's partner, that's huge, and that excites me.
Yeah.
As does the Jeff Goldblum casting. How amazing. On that note, thank you for listening to episode 52 of the InGeneral podcast. We will be back. That's
probably soon. In fact, we should be recording with Josh soon. Nublar 7.
Yeah. Josh's debut podcast will be coming next.
All right. Until then.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you very much for listening.
And that was an awkward ending.
Yeah, end it.
You know what? Thanks so much for listening, everyone. And until the next bit of news hits, just stay tuned to JurassicOutpost.com. No, that's still awkward. Yeah, screw it. We can be awkward.
Yeah, go on. Okay, go on. You end it.
What am I ending it on?
Well, that was fine. What did you say? Let's just keep this in. This is the end.
And we don't know how to end it with
only
2 people, apparently.
All right, ending the podcast. Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for listening.
Right, let's just play. Any
final words?
Let's play a Goldblum quote. Let's just end it on that. And we're done. We're out of here. And that's all, folks.
Scene.
I'll tell you the problem with the scientific power that you're using here. It didn't require any discipline to attain it. You know, you read what others had done, and you took the next step. You didn't earn the knowledge for yourselves, so you don't take any responsibility for it. You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, and before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it. Well,